Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan, and here basically we are discussing the attraction topic, and this is basically the first question basically that is ongoing of this is basically first question, and this is basically the third part basically you can say of first question only. So first question, that is basically the attraction. Now we will be going to detail of little bit of the attraction basically. One person basically told that every time basically the earthquake basically happens. Why basically there is what is the reason behind the earthquake? Then one person told that basically earthquake is a normal thing basically. 1.6, 1.5, 1.7, that basically happens every second basically. Every second basically, that basically geology department basically of the each and every country basically they knows that every second basically the earthquake happens. But the blood cells basically created inside the human body by the set of the medical group basically, they that group that blood cells basically does not allow you to think of that particular magnitude. That magnitude basically, you can't feel that magnitude. Your brain, your eye, your body structure, that can't feel it. But when basically that can feel basically, that is basically mostly when the buildings are shaking, trees are shaking, your fans basically are shaking, your buildings basically shakes. Lots of company says that sorry, lots of buildings basically are very high. They will never basically be able to know that because their buildings are always shaking. Why? Because it's very high type building. It's created up to that level. But few floor building like 9 floor, 10 floor, 11 floor, they basically easily able to can recognize the earthquake. Mountain people basically never able to know the earthquake. Why? Because it's a big mountain basically. Who can shake the mountains basically? Who can basically shakes the mountain? But mountain also basically, one person told that basically why mountain basically mountain also basically it's in the just put it into this in top of the sand only, right? And one person told that basically um, he told that basically lots of pressure basically are dumped into the mountain. That's why basically it never gets shakes basically. So that type of energies are there basically there. So lots of people says that before buildings basically the energy basically put in near the building, they are tested in the mountain basically, because in mountain basically who stays basically, that type of mountain basically where basically nobody stays basically, like Everest mountain is there, Mount Everest is there, Himalaya is there. There basically they do the testing, and that basically might be also one of the reason of earthquakes, and that basically gives the earthquakes also basically, and that basically affects the entire Delhi, Noida, Ghaziabad, Haryana, because sometimes basically experiment goes basically totally wrong. Sometimes basically experiments totally go wrong. That is basically different topic. That also basically we are going to discuss. But that connects to attraction. Attraction of earthquakes. Attraction of earthquakes basically. So experiments basically are very dangerous because each and every country basically are connected with each other. One person told that basically in India basically earthquake happened, right? You told just now that whole world is connected. Whole world is connected. Just now you told, right? Just a minute. Just now basically you told that whole world is connected with each other, right? Then basically how basically the earthquake basically in India only basically the earthquake happens, but it does not affect to the China, Pakistan, near countries. What is the reason behind that? Then basically one person basically given the answer that they They basically breaks the chain of the earthquakes. They have the, if basically earthquake is happening in near Pakistan basically, and Pakistan is not getting effect, then basically you can just imagine how powerful Pakistan country is. Basically Pakistan country, how much powerful they are, how much powerful China's are basically. For example, I will take one example. If basically in Pakistan basically earthquake happens, can India able to break that chain? India has the equipment of the breaking the chain. If have basically, then in the, if the Pakistan basically gets the earthquake, then basically China, India basically, they will basically breaks the chain. But they can't break their earthquake chain also basically. India, a few people told that India basically are not able to break their chain also. Then how basically they will break the others company, other countries chain basically. Then one person told that satellite group basically can break the chain. Na? India, few people says that basically India basically takes everything from outside. They are totally dependent on USA. They are totally dependent on Italy. They are totally dependent on UK. They are totally dependent on Germany. They take everything basically utilities from outside. They don't want to take the burden. That's basically this whole thing. Basically, just now I told basically the break the chain of the earthquake. That basically that group basically might understand, because India only takes sorry, they only purchase the utilities. Rest sorry, they don't purchase the utility. They just give the money and tells that basically you just handle the thing. We don't want burden. So like this, it's India. Indian government are like this basically. They don't want to take any tension. Now basically the earthquakes are coming. Now here the question is, this group 100% might be having the earthquake chain. This group basically 100% might be having the earthquake chain, right? So here basically the things are basically, that is the earthquake chains. Basically. That is basically the earthquake attractions. Earthquake attraction basically. Earthquake attractions. So one person basically told that experiment basically always happens in the earth planet only. Basically each and every country basically do the experiments where basically human exist, where basically human exists, right? But that time basically why earthquake doesn't comes? If you're doing any experiments in the surface of where the human are staying basically, where buildings exist, there basically experiments always happens. But earthquakes basically why that happens basically, that basically is the chain basically of the earthquakes basically when it gets breaks. So what is earthquakes chain basically, that is also one of the topic basically, that basically we are going to discuss what actually the earthquake chains are basically. Earthquake chains basically in simple language basically we will say without definition basically. If we will say without definition with example, that is basically, for example, one building is standing, it's standing basically very safely, right? It's not moving to right, it's not moving to right, it's more moving to the left, not moving top, not moving down. So that is basically the earthquake chain, but that earthquake chain is positive. Positive means, here positive means earthquake is not coming, and negative here means earthquake is going to come. Earthquake is going to come basically. So here basically this is also one of the attraction point basically. This is also one of the attraction point. This is also one of the attraction points. So here now the question is, uh, up to what level the things of attraction basically, we just now basically we saw basically the attraction points. One of the attraction point was earthquakes basically, and then basically the attraction point was mm, the chain system basically. Then the earthquakes are basically there. These all are basically the earthquakes chaining system basically you can say. Then basically we saw the education level system also basically. How the education MBA students example also we have taken. What the basically the how the server companies basically creates the server and how the business development group basically do the business. So this earthquakes, energies, this is also basically one of the business only, right? Business development only, na? The energy company groups, they are doing the business basically. Few people basically says that we basically are government employees. So we basically getting the tax. That's why basically we are whatever tax basically we are getting according to that basically we are giving the services. Few people says that we are basically giving services freely. There is no basically um, charge basically. So business development groups basically develops the business, right? Business development group basically develops the business. And example we have already taken how basically the servers are created, how basically the servers. Now basically we exactly know what actually the server is, what actually the server is, and server and client relationship is. This is the exact server example basically. This is the exact server example. One more example basically I will take. This is about the server, right? Like Amazon server is also there. So he also basically that Amazon group basically they also basically are doing this type of business only. They also have their set of servers, right? They also have their set of servers. So they also might be giving the business to their retailers basically, to their small retailers. As per the services basically the retailers, small retailers are basically taking. They basically say that if you are accessing one function from our Amazon library, they basically charge some amount. Previously, it was free, everything was free. Then basically they started charging. So they basically takes the service charge like this. Basically, the Amazon attraction basically came into the picture. Like this, basically Amazon say that we basically also have this. Amazon group basically 100% might be knowing this all this thing basically because he's telling that we keeps the one rupees hisab kitab. One rupees hisab kitab means we keeps the 1 rupee balance sheet also. We takes care of the 1 rupees balance sheet also. So how basically he can miss this basically? This just now basically why I told, which I basically have told this about the server. He might have missed. No, I don't think the Amazon like businessman basically can miss this. I don't think he can miss. I don't think basically the, his business development group can miss this. I don't think they can miss because they are taking care of the one rupee also in the balance sheet. Then how they can miss? So assume that they have not missed. So like this, basically they have also created the because Amazon group says that they have their own server. So mostly basically they might be purchasing the server only, right? They are not basically the computer creators or server creator. They are basically just one company basically who takes the services, sorry, who deploys the services and purchase the services from set of vendors basically, and they sells the services and they basically take some percentage of money, and here basically they gives the business. But mostly, basically, if the server is from IBM or Microsoft or some compact or some, then basically they might be giving the data. Basically. This basically Amazon group basically might be knowing well. Basically, they have missed or basically they have not missed because they takes care of 1 rupee also basically. So that basically different point basically. So here now basically that basically we have discussed about the Amazon attraction also. Now basically the attraction of earthquakes basically. How basically the earthquake basically say that one person told that basically uh, have you heard about the layers basically? Then basically one person told that what actually layer is. Layer means you are talking about the buildings basically. First floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, seventh floor, eighth floor. Then that person told that yeah, that is basically the floor building. That is about the floors of the buildings basically. But I am talking about the layers basically. Layers means exactly same as buildings only, but little bit part is first layer of the energies, second is second layer, third, like this basically there are many layers basically which is created near the buildings, near the building basically. So here the thing is basically which layer gets shakes, then basically the earthquake magnitude comes to this. Then assume that I will take just a rough example basically. Then he told that basically assume that we have 16 to 17 layers. There are 16 to 17 layers basically near each and every buildings basically. Assume that if each and every objects basically. Because if earthquake is coming, then basically you have to give the effect to the entire city, right? So like this, assume that he has told that there are 16 layers to each and every objects. Then that person told that basically which layer basically gets effect, gets change. Some updates, assume that some updation happens. If some updation happens, updation means some modification has happened. What actually these layers are, that basically we are going to discuss only. How basically the attraction happens. That also we are going to discuss in this question one number only. So assume that there are 17 to 80, 15 to 16, 17 layers basically. So one person told that if some changes happens in one layer, two layer, then basically there is no effect. This keeps on changing basically, right? Slowly it connects to 17, 18 layers basically. Slowly it connects to 17, 18 layers. That time basically earthquake basically doesn't happen. Few earthquake basically always happens. That is basically 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. So he told that basically if basically more than above 12, 13, this all layers basically gets changed, then basically the earthquakes gets effect. So he told that that another person told that how many layers are there basically in the near the buildings basically for just for to keep the building basically it should to balanced basically there are basically that depends upon the energy companies basically. Reliance says that we have this much layer. ONGC says that we have this much layer. So each and every energy company says that we basically keeps the layer according to our requirement. According to the requirement basically given by the government, according to that we basically keeps. So the requirement is given by the government basically, not by us basically. And these energy companies are directly connected with the world banks. That's why basically they have full power. Full means full power. They can do anything basically because they are directly connected with World Bank basically. If anybody is connected directly with World Bank basically, then you can just imagine basically he have the all power of all banks basically. That much dangerous power he have. So he 100% might be in the top of the world. If anybody is top of the world, then basically he is a king of the world basically because he have the control of each and every banks. He know basically which person is doing the job, which person is not doing the job because he have the full access. So you can just imagine basically the full power of the World Bank basically is having. That's why basically energy group says that nobody can touch us, even the government also can't touch us. Even the government also basically have to think 100 times before touching us. Why? Because they have the World Bank power basically, world energy power basically, you can say. They can do anything. So Reliance basically is connected with World Bank. IPCLs, ONGCs. These all are basically connect AIMS oxygen basically. So you can just imagine basically the power of misuse or basically what don't know of the power basically. They can do anything basically. Even basically government will not interfere in this because government says that we just want this task has to happen. That's all. You do whatever way basically you want to do. Then basically they say that we have created our system basically according to that things are going to happen. So that is basically the layer set of layers basically which is created. 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 So layers are also very dangerous basically. Then basically that person another person told that the energy companies also basically keeps their because they have the access of save energy and death energy. They know basically 1,75,000 cities are basically created in this world, and they know basically that this is the save area energy and this is the death area energy. Means each and every people basically dies basically, right? So they basically diagnose the reason also, right? Medical department basically diagnose the reason also. So they basically know that which energy company basically has sent the data, which energy company basically has sent the data, and how basically the things has happened. Few people says that basically for God basically we can do anything. For God basically they can do anything. Few people says that if you believe that in temple basically few people says that it's just stone only, right? Then few one person told that if you believe that this is God, then basically we have to believe that it's a God. Then basically few people say that it's a just stone basically. Like this also world is there. So that's believe on the belief basically. How basically they believe. Few people says that few people are in astronauts. They are basically in sky basically, and their basically temple are basically created in the Earth planet, and they are God. They are basically God. They are doing the task of God, right? Means for Earth planet they are God, right? Because if any of the miss of the planet's basically attraction, then basically it's end of the planet only basically. It's end of the planet basically you can say. That also within second basically. But this basically never happens basically because the creation is done up to that level that it's basically never happens. But anything can happen anytime. Anything basically can happen anytime because attraction can happen anytime, right? For example, one person told that basically um, uh, I one example basically I will take 100% basically has been taken as an experiment for a problem diagnosing. They basically have each basically person have basically 10 problems. Each person basically problems are getting solved, but one person basically problems was not getting solved. That basically, do you know how they diagnosed it? Diagnose means how they tracked it. One of the planets, set of planets basically attracted suddenly near the Earth planet and just washed out near the Earth planet. Then basically they were that time basically they were doing some another task and they were not able to track that planets group basically. Due to that basically lots of earthquakes happens, lots of basically tsunami came into picture, lots of things basically happened in the Earth planet because they missed it. They basically never missed, but then also basically I will take one example. They assume that they missed it. And they basically never thought that basically this type of experiments basically the energy groups are doing. That is also basically they are connected with the World Bank basically. And World Bank is basically top of the bank. Sorry, top of the world basically. So assume that they basically missed due to basically the experiment is going within the energy group. And this whole experiment basically satellite group be 100% might be knowing it because they only approves the each and every energy which has to be activated. So assume they basically default they activated it. So like this, the energy company basically was not able to solve that problem. Basically. Due to that, basically the attraction happened, and the, suddenly basically planets groups basically moved near from the Earth planet, and lots of big earthquakes happens. Earthquake happened, lots of tsunami happened, and in sea also basically lots of earthquakes happened. And that person basically was from India, and in India basically the things has happened. Why? Because that person basically was basically birth basically has happened in India basically because his human souls basically was uh, uh, human souls basically when basically child basically is in stomach of the mothers basically that time basically human soul basically is not inside the body of that particular child. When souls basically gets activate after certain time basically, after time basically it can be any time basically, that souls basically has been dumped into the mother's body, and that basically merged into the child basically. Lots of people says that this is totally fake basically, this is basically totally fake basically. Lots of people says yeah basically it is 100% correct. So like this basically the that souls basically I'm talking about, that in basically in human Hindi language it is called as atma. And lots of people says atma is equal to blood. That also basically lots of people says that. So that basically the soul basically is from is connected from Indian uh, energy company, and that energy company was supposed to take care of that particular person basically, but they had not taken care. So due to that, basically the story generated that person basically got lots of problem, lots of things basically happened. Like this, basically the soul, the person basically got that person's basically problem was basically not able to solve, not able to solve basically. Due to that, basically the all basically problems basically was solved from the 100 people, but his first problem basically was not able to solve. So this whole thing basically happened. So like this basically a satellite group basically tracked it that this person basically problem is not solved. So now basically what they are going to do, that basically we are going to see in next video.